Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 5 of CX Talk, Customer Experience Talk. I am Dave Murray, Senior Consultant with the DiJulius Group, alongside John DiJulius. Hello, John.
Hello. Happy New Year. Exciting 2015 ahead of us.
It is, and it's already off to a great start because since our last show, some exciting things have happened, specifically the debut of the Customer Service Revolution.
Yes, it officially went on sale at bookstores and at Amazon and all the outlets January 6th, last week, I think. Last Tuesday?
It was last Tuesday, and it quickly became an Amazon bestseller, so congratulations on that.
Thank you. It was very exciting, and thank you for all the viewers and listeners for helping make it a number one on Amazon, customer service business. Can't remember, it got overall, all books on Amazon, I think it got maybe hit the top 50.
Wow, great.
But it's hard to catch the Harry Potters of the world,
Right.
But yeah, it's exciting to be number one. And so we are here to help you make the 2015 the year of the customer service revolution in your business. So one of our new features is that we're going to focus on a chapter every month.
So let's do that right now. We're going to start obviously with chapter number 1. So you want to take it away with that?
Yeah, chapter number 1 is what is a customer service revolution. So it is your biggest competitive advantage. So what we recommend here is have your team read the book, read the chapter, and then take the test that we're going to provide you with. But a customer service revolution is your biggest competitive advantage. It's what will give you that distinct competitive advantage. People can copy a lot of things, but they can't copy your customer experience. So there's a quote I love by Puntagelli that it goes, when you're inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful place. And I love that quote because your team members will rally around the customer experience when they see the higher purpose that it has.
That is great. Who is Puntagelli?
I have no idea. I like his quote, but I'm sure he's some amazing person, thought leader. I don't know.
I'm going to do some research for our next episode and report that back.
I mean, he may be nobody.
It's a great quote, though. It really is.
I like it.
So he's a somebody now.
He is a somebody. I'm sure he's someone big.
Yes.
So let's talk about the customer service revolution. Just that. I mean, you could spend a couple days on just what is a customer service revolution. But what you're finding out, what all the companies have found out is in any economy, especially a down economy, customer loyalty is your greatest asset. And that's what people are truly finding out. Customer service through the recession all of a sudden became hip again. And everyone saw the companies focusing on that customer experience were less affected by the third-party conditions that we can't control, be it the recession, fear of terrorist attacks and war, the housing market collapse, the presidential year, all things that affect economies. So
the other great thing about that too is it's going to give people some loyalty towards us. So even when we drop the ball, because it's going to happen. So even when we make mistakes, they're still going to give us a second chance.
Yeah, if we're picking it up, if companies are picking it up. So what the only not only is companies that have created and been on the front end of the customer service revolution feeling it in a business way, but it has a profound ripple effect in numerous areas. So, you ready to share with them what a customer service revolution is?
Absolutely.
All right. It is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what employees and customers experience. This shift produces a culture that permeates into people's personal lives, at home, and in the community. which in turn provides a business with higher sales, more brand loyalty, employee morale, and thus making price irrelevant. I love that. As you know, that's my favorite, one of my favorite phrases to throw around, and it triggers debate. Can you really make price irrelevant?
Yeah, I hear a lot of debate on that, and sometimes that scares people a little bit too. If they are out there fighting the price wars every day, they don't really know anything different. So sometimes companies hear that and say, well, what would we do? We would lose that if we're not in there fighting that battle. But they can come across that and cross that bridge and be successful.
Does it scare you?
Sometimes. Sometimes it does.
Well, and that's the thing. We're not telling anybody to change their game. We're just, if that's where you want to compete in price wars, great. We would rather, in the companies we work with, would rather compete in the experience wars, which I like because there's not too many players in the experience wars.
Right.
So, making price irrelevant doesn't mean you can raise your fees, double your fees, 20%, whatever, and not lose prospective and current customers. What it does mean is based on the current experience you're giving them, your customers have no idea what your competition charges. So they're not looking because you're taking such good care of them.
That's great.
So, we need to change our thought. If you are an upscale, high premium brand, right? Don't get caught in the price wars. But we really need to change our internal thought that, we are the price leader. And we won't be oversold. I love that. And I read it in a blog. But instead of being nervous that people are charging less, be proud of what you charge. And have this internal motto that we won't be oversold. In fact, if you find another company that is more expensive than us, we will raise our prices and match it. So it's the reverse of price match guarantee.
Right.
And if you really think about that, if that's your employees and companies' mindset, you got to step up to it. You got to justify it.
Right.
And I get upset when there are people out there that may be charging more than any of our businesses, right? My first business is Salon and Spa, or the DiJulius Group, a consulting business on customer service. If someone's out there charging more, that makes me think, what are they doing? Mm-hmm. What value, experience are they providing that they can charge more? And we better, up our game.
Right.
And that's what I really like about that whole mindset, because it forces you to not, grow small and say, oh God, we gotta, price match them in the opposite way. We are the premium leader, and be proud of what that is.
I love that concept, and it reminds me very much of the experience tax exercise.
Yes.
Where you have your frontline employees say, okay, we're adding this X amount of experience tax to every transaction that you are charging for the experience you provide. Now, how do you justify that?
Right.
It's a great exercise.
It is a great exercise. You don't really add it, but it's built in. It's built into the price.
Right.
All right. So we just went over chapter 1. What is really a customer service revolution? What we recommend is having your team and leaders read that, and then talk about. There's an exercise that the customer service definition exercise that you can download, and you can see here where to download it off our website. And it's an exercise. I want you to give it to them. Give it to your team members that read the first chapter, and have them take each sentence by itself. All right? A radical overthrow of conventional business mentality. Each sentence of the definition, and say, what does that mean to them, and how they provide the customer experience. The next sentence, designed to transform what customers experience, and have them write out what that means in their mindset and in their approach and how they can, match that in their experience. And that's a really good exercise in to just share with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It'll help. So the first chapter is very simple. It's what is really a customer service revolution and how it can be applied to your world.
All right, great. Thank you, John. And we'll be right back with a special guest.
The Customer Experience Executive Academy, preparing customer service executives to lead, design, and manage the customer experience. Applications for 2015 courses now being accepted. Find out more at cxeacademy.com.
Welcome back to CX Talk, Episode 5, the first of 2015. And we're going to introduce a new segment here. We have a very special guest on the line with us today. It is Rory Vaden. Rory is co-founder of Southwest Consulting, and he's a best-selling author. His first book, Take the Stairs, was #1 on the Wall Street Journal and New York Times bestseller list. He has a new book that has just come out. It's Procrastinate on Purpose, and Rory has joined us today so we can talk about that. Hello, Rory.
Hey, Dave. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. And John, I know Rory came and spoke at the summit for us. It was his second summit, and he always has such a great impact when he comes to that event.
Yeah, so Rory spoke at the 2012 Secret Service Summit on Take the Stairs, and it was phenomenal. I mean, it was just, he rocked it. One of the highest rated speakers of all time. And when I heard he had just written a new book, Procrastinate on Purpose, which came out last week, same day as the Customer Service Revolution.
Right.
Hit #1 in a bunch of categories, including #1 book, just, where I said I got to the top 50 on fiction, nonfiction. Rory hit #1. But besides that, Rory is a great dude. I have a man crush on him. He's the best dresser I've ever seen. He's a great speaker, and it's just frustrating, man. He's young. He has a hot wife, AJ, who is, he's got it going on. So, Rory, thanks so much for being with us.
You're such a pal, buddy. I love you too.
All right, well, let's get started, Rory. The book comes out. The book, as I said, is already successful. I got an early copy about 2 months ago, and after I just started reading, I was only like a chapter or two in. I made sure every manager in both my companies got it because it goes against everything you've ever heard, and it's in a good way. Controversial. And even your first sentence is everything you know about time management is wrong. I mean, that's a big, bold statement there, Rory.
Yeah, well, where I really learned that from was from a 2-year-old, believe it or not. I was with my business partner, one of my business partners, Dustin. It was a Saturday morning. We're at his house. We're having this international leaders meeting for Southwestern Consulting. So all our top people are flying in. And I'm picking him up, and as we're leaving, his little 2-year-old baby girl, Haven, who is just the sweetest little baby. She got curly brown hair and these sweet brown eyes and a little southern accent developing already. She comes running down the hall, and she latches onto his leg. And she's like, "Where are we going, Daddy? Where are we going?" And he said, well, baby Haven, Daddy's got to go to work today. And she looks up at him, and her eyes well up with tears. And she says, "No, Daddy, no, please, no work. No work today, Daddy." And my heart, in that moment, John, my heart broke. And I realized 2 things. Number 1, I'm not ready to have kids just yet. And then number 2, is that time management, despite everything that you hear, time management is no longer just logical. Time management is emotional. And yet everything you read about time management is about tips and tricks, tools and technologies, calendars and checklists, and yet feelings of guilt and anxiety and worry and stress and the desire to feel valued and important, those things drive our decision making about how we choose to spend our time as much as anything else. And so that led us into a whole fascinating exploration of the emotional side of productivity.
So you're quoting and sourcing 2-year-olds now.
That's where our research comes from.
Excellent.
Roy, I have a question for you. As you know, we all know there are a lot of books out there on time management and productivity. You can see them anywhere you go. But one thing that's great about Procrastinate on Purpose is that you have a guarantee to be unlike anything else anyone's ever read. Can you share with us what that is?
Yeah, so the first part of it is just what we just talked about. That it's about emotions and not logic. That's why the subtitle is 5 Permissions to Multiply Your Time, and it's basically looking at how ultra performers think, and then they give themselves the permission, the emotional permission that is required to multiply their time. So the emotional element is the first thing, but the other thing, which is just huge, is helping people understand the way that ultra performers, which we now call multipliers, think differently. And we talk about 3 eras of time management. Era 1 was really the strategy of efficiency, and was all about managing your time to fit more in and do things faster. Era 2 was all about prioritizing your time, and it was really brought in by the late Dr. Covey, the brilliant Dr. Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Sold 25 million copies, changed the world, improved so many lives, including my own. And Dr. Covey introduced 2-dimensional thinking. It wasn't just about efficiency, it was about effectiveness, and it was about urgency and importance. And he gave us this chart called the Time Management Matrix, which is this way of scoring our activities. And that's great. And prioritizing your time is what Era 2 is all about. But what we started to realize is there is a limitation of prioritizing. I mean, we throw the word around, prioritize your time, like it's the end-all, be-all to time management. But there is nothing about prioritizing that creates more time. All prioritizing does is take item number 7 on your to-do list and move it up to number 1. Now, in 1990, that's a really valuable message, and it's still valuable today to focus first on what matters most. It's still a very valuable skill. But it doesn't create any more time. It's more like you're borrowing time from one activity to spend on another. And so what we noticed in ultra performers is that they are thinking differently. And the next level of results requires the next level of thinking. And so multipliers have moved into Era 3 thinking, which is a 3-dimensional calculation, which is not just about importance or urgency, but the third calculation is significance. And significance is the second major distinction of how this will be different than anything you've ever read. And importance is how much does something matter. Urgency is how soon does something matter. But the significance calculation is about how long does something matter. And so that brings us to what ultimately became the premise of the entire book, which is that the way that you multiply time is by giving yourself the permission to spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. So it's getting outside of that construct of only thinking about today and only thinking about importance and urgency, and instead thinking about tomorrow and the next day in the future. And we call that calculation the significance calculation, and the significance changes everything.
Rory, so this book is irritating in a way because it really is. I mean, in a good way, but you don't want to be told that something you've been doing for a while and you thought was right is wrong, right? And so you're describing me. I've always bragged how much I got done in a day. Like I'm a shredder. Give me I'll get I beat everyone in the amount of things I could cross off my to-do list. And sometimes I think of something to do, I do it, but I didn't get a chance to write it down on my to-do list, so I have to write it down because of that accomplishment factor is another thing I got done. So like you described, My to-do list would be 20 things long today. I prioritize it last night before I go to bed, so I make sure I get the most important done, first, and then I have it like what I have to do, must do, what I need to do, and what I'd like to do, and then tomorrow my list may be up to 30, and I'd still go about, but I'd always be so proud of how many things I was able to cross off. But, I think basically what you're saying is that's an old paradigm, and there's a better way to do it.
Well, you don't have to abandon everything that you have learned. Think about it as building on to what you have learned. Literally in the book, the significance calculation, becomes the z-axis. If y-axis is importance and x-axis is urgency, the way that Dr. Covey laid it out, then what we're adding is a third calculation. And significance is a part of the importance calculation, just like urgency is. So it's not doing away with everything that you've ever learned. It is thinking differently about it. Because if you think about a to-do list, the way that most of us create our to-do list is we ask ourselves the question, what's the most important thing I have to do today? Notice we're thinking automatically, what do I have to do today? We are inappropriately overweighting the urgency calculation. So it's not that the multipliers don't use to-do lists. Some of them do, and I personally still do. But the question, it's all about your thinking. The question is not, what is the most important thing I have to do today? The question is, what can I be doing today that creates more time or more results tomorrow? That is the thing that changes everything, because it also increases your level of peace. Because a lot of us, I'm the same way. This stuff was hard for me to learn. I mean, it was hard for me to write, but it's really hard for me to learn because it flies in the face of everything that I've done and I've believed and I've bought into. And so coming to that reconciliation is important. And what I noticed is we live in a world of urgency. Everybody is stressed, frenetically checking email, constantly trying to do stuff, and that is because the two paradigms have basically been efficiency, managing your time with efficiency and prioritizing your time trying to be effective. And if you think about it, efficiency, it's been said, is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Now here's the problem. Both of those are about doing things. And what we learn from multipliers is they don't care about doing things. That, like you said, the part we have to change is we have to get our self-esteem outside of the idea of just glorifying busyness and just going, well, look at all of the things I got done today. Well, who cares how many things you got done today? So ultra performers realize it's not about efficiency or effectiveness. It's really about efficacy. Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. But it's not about doing things. It's about getting results. And that is better defined by the word efficacy. So it is another example of how multipliers really do think differently from the rest of us.
Excellent. Great stuff. Great stuff. What is procrastinate on purpose besides an oxymoron?
So here's the thing. We said just a moment ago that the premise of the whole book is based on the idea that you multiply your time by giving yourself the emotional permission to spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. So then anything that you can do today that creates time tomorrow would be an example of multiplying. And in the book, we talk about the 5 kind of core strategies. Eliminate, automate, delegate. And if you think of, we call it the focus funnel. Visually, if you imagine a funnel, at the top end, where the wide part of the funnel is, if a task comes in, the first thing you should ask yourself is, can I eliminate this? And if I say no to it today, then tomorrow it creates more time because I'm not doing something that I would have been doing. If I can't eliminate it, then I say, can I automate it? Because anything that I create a process for today will save time tomorrow. If I can't eliminate it or automate it, I ask the question, can I delegate it? Because obviously if I can train someone how to do it today, then they'll be able to do it tomorrow. And there's an emotional challenge with each of those 3 things. Like, for example, the permission of imperfect is the permission that goes along with delegate. But if it cannot be eliminated, automated, or delegated, the task drops through to the bottom of the funnel. And then the only remaining question is, should I do this task now, or can it wait until later? Now, if you decide to do it now, that's what we call concentrate. That's all about the permission to protect. That's about focus and eliminating distraction. But if the answer to the question, can this wait until later, is yes, then we are encouraging you and inviting you and challenging you to not eliminate, automate, delegate, or concentrate, but to procrastinate on purpose. It's about saying no to things that can wait so that you can focus on the things that really are significant. And anytime that you are saying, you have to learn how to consciously say no to things that don't matter so that you don't wind up unconsciously saying no to the things that do. So the book is not about teaching you to procrastinate per se. There's a big difference. Inaction that results from indulgence is classic procrastination, which is what Take the Stairs was all about solving. But inaction that results from intention is patience. It's giving yourself the permission. I don't need to check my email every 10 minutes. I can procrastinate that on purpose and focus on something else.
No, and that's exactly what, one of the ahas or does that I got from it is, having my email on all day long and acting like a hockey goalie of just, catching them and responding right away and feeling good is so against everything you're saying, and I'm not being productive. But the old paradigm is I think I'm being productive, but checking it once or twice a day at the beginning and the end, and then nailing them out instead of keep on walking away from the project I'm working on at the time is multiplying my time. And what I really love about this is while you're throwing a lot of stuff out there in a short interview, your book really walks you through the how, the simple way to transform your mindset and your habits. And like your last book, I love it. So many people took great things away from it. Our clients that have brought you in are just raving about the transformational change you've had on them. So we can't thank you enough, Rory. I wish we weren't up against the clock because we could talk to you, about this all day.
Yeah, and certainly one thing I would encourage people to do is to go to procrastinateonpurpose.com. We have a free 1-hour webinar. You can see the funnel. I walk you through the whole kind of methodology. It's totally free, so I would encourage you to go procrastinateonpurpose.com. Check that out, and of course there's a special offer if you do decide you want to buy the book. And so I just really appreciate y'all having me, and remember, success is never owned, it's only rented, and the rent is due every day.
Thanks, Rory. I love that.
Thank you, Rory.
Thank you.
So our last topic in this episode, John, is a best practice. So on this show, we like to talk about best practices as much as we can because both you and I are out there a lot and working with different companies, and so we get to see some bad things that happen, but we also get to see a lot of good things that companies are doing that other companies might be able to benefit from. So the one I wanted to talk about today is something that I've noticed recently with our friends at Advanced Financial. So many companies out there, and I think you mentioned that John Roberts may have even been guilty of this at one time or another, have such a great orientation that they're almost overselling what the experience is going to be like working for them or the service they're going to provide. And they almost can't live up to that when the employee actually gets out on the floor, gets to their store, wherever they're going to go after orientation. And so what Advanced Financial realized that they were guilty of this to a certain degree. And so they wanted to make sure that that experience was living up to the hype they were creating during orientation. And what they realized was that the missing piece was really the manager level at the store location, that they weren't really holding up their end of the bargain as new employees came out to start their new careers at Advanced Financial. So they went through a couple of exercises to try and train. They actually had you in at one time and talked to the managers a few times about leadership and some other things. And one thing that they have recently started undertaking, which I think is a great idea, they're actually having their managers take a larger role in the hiring process, so they have more ownership of the entire process. So it's no longer just an employee being handed off to you saying, here's John, good luck. They're really involved in the entire process from John being recruited, interviewed, and then coming after orientation to start at their store. So I think giving that middle management layer, that ownership of the entire process is going to work very well for them. So I was pleased to see that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, and it's a lot more common is, you want to have a great orientation, but not one that overpromises. And nothing will dilute or diffuse an employee's inspiration coming off of, all the things they found out that they can do for customers and each other. And when they get out there and they see experienced, mature employees not doing what they had just learned that they're supposed to do. So yeah, that's critical, is that frontline manager, supervisor person really makes or breaks, holds people accountable, or doesn't and is not walking the talk or making sure everybody else is. So yeah, that's a huge one. And you don't want the answer to be have a less orientation.
Right.
You want to have it strengthened on the back end.
Right. So that could be some homework for some of our viewers out there. It might be worthwhile to take a look at your orientation, see what you're talking about, and then make sure that the experience after orientation is living up to what you're preaching, because it may not be. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 5. We hope your new year is off to a great start, and we're looking forward to seeing you next time.
CX Talk is brought to you by the DiJulius Group. Follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, and visit our YouTube channel monthly for more entertainment and education with John and Dave on CX Talk.